In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to easily draft a pattern for a wrap skirt. You can make it any length you want, and you can flare it as wide as you want. And I'll be using this beautiful viscose challis. I'll leave a link in the description box as to where I purchased it. Starting with my skirt slopers, if you do not have a line from the tip of your dart straight down to the hem, you want to put one, and it's parallel to the center front, straight down. You also need a hole, a tiny hole at the tip of that dart, because we're going to pivot it shut. Align your sloper with the center front and cross grain lines. We're going to close this dart, and the way we do that is mark a tiny dot at the top of the leg closest to center front and draw from that leg over to center front. And at the bottom, at the hemline from this line, we're also going to draw this straight across. Now to close the dart, put your pencil in the tip of the dart to anchor the sloper. Pivot the sloper clockwise so that the second leg is in alignment with the first. And finish the trace. So from here out, straight down, and across to this line where we've originally stopped. And take that away. There is a discrepancy here. As you can see, when we close this dart, they don't match perfectly. So now I'm going to blend them together. Now I will be making my skirt a little bit longer than what my personal sloper is. I'm going to make mine 32 inches, so I would just lengthen this. And I'm also going to go over this with a dark color so you can see it better as I work. On my full scale skirt, I want a 4-inch extension so that it wraps a lot. In half scale, of course, it'll be 2 inches. I also need a fold back facing. It'll be a fold line, and this is my facing. I'll add seam allowance at the end. Before I add seam allowance, I want to create the back piece. And this one has 2 darts, from the first dart leg to center back, and from the first line below that dart to center back. Make a little mark, close my dart, and then the space between the 2 darts I draw in, and right here, little mark, and close the second dart. And this is my back. If you're somewhat sway back, you want to drop the center back waist about 1/2 inch. Otherwise, the skirt will dip down under the buttocks. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I want to compare the front and back because the grain on the side seam must match. It must absolutely be the same. And to compare, what we do is we simply align the side waistline and make sure that the center back and center front are parallel. It doesn't matter that they match, but these actually do match pretty well, but that they're parallel. So you see my waist is matching here, and you can see that the 2 side seams are very, very different. In this case, my front is narrower than the back. Side seams to be exactly the same. Otherwise, it will not sew and hang properly. So you can either split the difference or choose one or the other. I'm going to choose the back simply because I'd like my skirt to be fuller, and I'd also like it to be longer. To protect the table, I'm putting a piece of cardboard under it And I'm going to, with my tracing wheel, trace the angle of the back onto the front. And from the hip area to the waist, they're the same. At this point, if you want to lengthen your skirt, you do so. But I think for teaching purposes, I can just keep it this length. At this point, add seam allowances and notches. I've matched my notches at the hip line, and now I need to make a waistband. The facing, of course, is folded under. So the waistband goes from the edge of the extension to the side seam and then back to center back. So I need this entire waistband measurement minus the seam allowance. To make the waistband, let's create a line that will be the top fold line for the waistband. At the back, right here, I'm going to create a line that's center back. I'm going to measure my back waist and put a mark. This will be a side seam. So it's from the center back to the side seam. Now I want to measure my center front and the extension. To center front, because there will be notches there, here's my center front and my extension. This would literally create a 1/2-inch waistband once I add seam allowance, but being half scale, if I bump this up to full scale, it will be 1 inch. Now, if you want ties, you extend this about 25 inches in full scale. And here we have seam allowance, folded in half at the center back, and pin so that all the lines are lined up, and cut. So here is the half-scale waistband, and I'll show you my full-scale waistband. And this is my full-scale waistband. And of course, the full-scale waistband is much bigger. As I mentioned, you can close this skirt several ways. Right now, this waistband would end at the extension, and here is your pattern. This waistband is made to stop right here, so it would take a hook and eye or a button. If you want ties, then extend one side of the waistband about 25 inches and make a separate tie that you'll sew on the other side of the waistband, and I will show you in my real fabric. Here is my finished skirt. The waistband and tie are approximately 1 inch. I put a snap at the edge of the overlap area, and on the inside, I put a skirt hook. One thing you can do, and I may go back and do it, is to run elastic around the entire back, and that way it will help cling to your body a little bit better. But I'm pretty happy with this skirt. Also, this tie is a separate piece, and I sewed it this way a couple of times to secure it, trimmed it, and then folded it back and tacked it right there so that the raw edge is covered. It has the fold back facing, and at the last minute I decided I wanted the underlap area to be much wider, so this is where the fold back facing would have been in the underneath piece, and what I did was I just extended it and extended the waistband to fit. I actually pieced the waistband right here, but you don't see it because it's under the overlap. This side, because it doesn't show, I just did a turn and stitched hem, and the bottom I did a turn and stitched hem. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.